the challenge we have is, as an institution, you should also be careful what you put out in the media. Okay. And mostly when you are an institution that a lot of people listen to and decide the future of people, especially monetary-wise. On this one issue that takes people to their grave early and make people live longer is how they manage their money and what you tell them about their money. Yeah. That circular from the CBN, I think, making it like a general thing was not good for the market, was not good for individuals. I think it was not well cut out where they went about it. We've seen another circular coming out from the CBN trying to say Nigerian banks are strong, there's no issue, forbearance is what we normally give, every institution globally does it. But you made a noise out of it, you made a news out of it, and a lot of investors got panic in the market, caused panic generally in the financial space. Yeah. I think they didn't handle it well. If you look at some of these banks that they are saying, oh, they are owing this forbearance, if you look at their capital base, some of them have even finished recapitalization. Some of them have made a heavy, in terms of liquidity, heavy provision.
Good morning, everyone. So today we're looking to, the big news and what everybody has been talking about in the past couple of days. That's the CBN suspension of dividend payments.
Yeah, by 7 banks, right?
Yeah. So is our money safe? Are the banks in trouble, or is the CBN trying to stable the economy really? So. We have with us a well-respected financial analyst. He's been here before, Mr. Muktar Mohammed, CEO of Finance with Muktar. Welcome again, Mr. Muktar.
My pleasure, okay. Always good to be on NairametricsTV show and you as a host.
Thank you as well.
You're doing a great job, you and your colleagues. Your colleagues.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate your feedback.
Especially in personal finance.
Yes. Yeah, we tried our best to, keep it consistent, and definitely we hope we'll continue to do more. So without wasting any time, let's go straight into it. Really, what exactly did the CBN announce? Really, maybe I think we should start from there, or rather we hear it from your mouth.
Well, it's all over. I think the CBN made an announcement, what they call forbearance loan. I mean, it's a loan that you give to financial institutions when maybe they are going through a little bit of crisis, or what we could call it a crisis fund, for them to stabilize over a period of time, depending on your agreement with them. And this forbearance was given during the time of COVID. Almost every institution globally has a period during COVID that they were giving forbearance loan because of the shutdown of the economy and all that. So that was the forbearance loan. You're supposed to pay it, but I don't know what. I think there wasn't really a time frame between paying that loan and with the CBN and the banks, but it was just a loan that you used to stabilize your economy. Then there's on that one, they say the COL type of loan. That's when one single shareholder has almost 20% of who in the bank, almost 20% of their shareholders fund. But I don't think that is in any of the bank. I think the main challenge is this forbearance loan that is a big challenge.
Big issue, right? Because I was about to ask why would they, make that decision really, So, but I mean, if you say it's because of that loan, then I guess do you think they've not paid back or they're owing?
I think the challenge we have is, as an institution, you should also be careful what you put out in the media. And mostly when you are an institution that a lot of people listen to and decide the future of people, especially monetary-wise. On this one issue that takes people to their grave early and make people live longer is how they manage their money and what you tell them about their money. Yeah. That circular from the CBN, I think, making it like a general thing was not good for the market, was not good for individuals. I think it was not well cut out where they went about it. We've seen another circular coming out from the CBN trying to say Nigerian banks are strong, there's no issue, forbearance is what we normally give, every institution globally does it. But you made a noise out of it, you made a news out of it, and a lot of investors caused panic in the market, caused panic generally in the financial space.
Yeah.
I think they didn't handle it well. If you look at some of these banks that they are saying, oh, they are owing this forbearance, if you look at their capital base, some of them have even finished recapitalization. Some of them have made a heavy, in terms of liquidity, heavy provision. They have enough to do for those provision of those loans again. And they also have what people don't talk about, people have not spoken about, the retained earnings, which should also be used, could be used to offset this. They are all, so it depends on what method the CBN is, but I think in this very matter, I think the CBN hasn't handled it very well, especially when you say you are trying to build $1 trillion economy, you are trying to make sure bank recapitalize, and these banks are going all out to make sure they get capitals from shareholders, from preferred investors, from foreign investors, and you came out with a report like this. I think it was very damaging, and we saw that respond in the stock market.
Yeah, because, I mean, a lot of people are, just running around, people are jumping around, nobody really knows. And I'm happy you mentioned recapitalization, because I was going to ask if this is actually linked to the recent bank recapitalization directives.
Well, somehow sometimes when policy comes out in this country, you don't know where it's coming from because they won't give you a clear cut what they're trying to do. Yeah. But if I sit here, I would say definitely it might have a role to play with the bank recapitalization to be sure that the banks are really, really recapitalized in reality. Okay. Remember this recapitalization drive, if you look at what we said before, and we said it, is the what we call, I still go back to what we call the retail earnings of the banks, was enough for them to recapitalize in terms of going to the shareholders, retained earning shareholder, and bring it back into the bank, because that's what retained earning is for, is to guide against external shocks. That's why if your bank makes 35 naira, he will say, no, we're not going to pay all our investors 35 naira. We're going to pay you 5 naira. We're going to pay you 2 naira. We're going to pay you 7 naira. We're going to pay you 8 naira. And we'll keep the remaining one for future use. Either we inject it into the market or we use it for a shock. At the point they came out with this recapitalization, most of the banks that are even looking for recapitalization in terms of their retained earning was in $1 trillion. But the CBN said, no, we don't want you to use your retained earning, which is abnormal. Yeah. But then, in Nigeria, we always come up with our inbuilt mechanism of said you go and get recapitalization of 500 billion. And I think a lot of banks have been going about that. So will it affect the recapitalization bank? Definitely it will, because again, if you look at the first recapitalization, those banks that have done right issues, when you look at what the price is at as yesterday, when this circular came in, you realize that it had dropped far way below their right issue at the first time. So that again is going to cost. So how much will they be selling for? That could also mean that the bank may have to have more outstanding share compared to what they want to have before. So it will definitely affect. But how it affected it all depending on who are the investors. Because again, shrewd investors look at what happened in the next 2 days and took huge opportunity and took that risk. And today, very soon they must, even today, be that circular that is coming from the CBN could just create a little bit of stability. And you could see some of these banks highly in bids today, because again, the CBN is now saying, oh, you are strong, you are good, but we just needed to pass out this information. We are discussing with the relevant banks. If you were discussing with the relevant banks, I think you should have done that rather than coming up and picking up a cycle. I think it has not well managed.
Yeah, thank you for actually shedding more knowledge on that. So since we've identified this, I think so. What we'll go next into what it actually means for shareholders and investors. A lot of people depend on these dividends for passive income and all, so what does this suspension actually mean for them in the short term?
In the short term, I think it means that you won't have so much of funds
Period.
Especially for investors that depend on it as means of passive income. Because again, why the financial stocks are the toast of every investors is because of that dividend payment.
Yeah.
So that's why every investors want to get that, because it comes in handy, especially when you are dealing in an economy that is going through a lot of challenges. Cash become kings, and that's why I see a lot of people want to invest in this banking stock.
Yeah.
Practically because they are attractive, and the attractiveness is largely driven because of their dividend payment. You have interim dividend, you have final dividend. So that comes in handy, especially when you look at the interim dividend. Sometimes it comes in at when, for retail investors, when they are about to resume school, they use it to pay school fees for their children.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of them use it to pay house rent because what they take home is not even enough to keep. So passive income is one skill that you people have always thought about in Nairametrics, in personal finance. It's very key to maintaining financial security going forward. So definitely, you could see that with the response.
Yeah, of course. But with all this, does this really does this signal banks being in distress, really? Or is it just more of a regulatory tightening?
I think you've just hit it. I mean, it's all about regulatory. And I told you that they came out with a cycle already to say that the banks are not in distress. The banks are very well capitalized. They even said Nigerian banks are over-regulated, which we have already known. They said it in their circular that even what is done in Europe and America, they have done, if they are more further tightening in terms of what they do to Nigerian banks. So for me, I think that tells you that the banks are okay. I don't think they challenge it. And like I said, what they're saying that these banks are owing in terms of this forbearance in millions of dollars. And if you look at it, some of these banks that are largely affected are banks that have offshore subsidiaries. And these offshore subsidiaries is not that they are not making profit, some of them. So they could also use that to offset it all. So, I mean, it's just the way the CBN went about it and caused panic and fear in the market.
Okay, I guess they probably need to even look more into it and review that decision. But so does I know you said this earlier, but how much does it really affect the value of stocks? So the shareholders should the shareholders really be worried about the value of the bank stocks on the NGX?
Of course, you should be worried. I mean, everybody should be worried when you get that statement. That statement coming out yesterday. It costs. You there will be fear, there will be anxiety, and you'll be worried and like, oh, most shareholders, especially the retail investors, were looking at, wow. So does it mean that I will not get that dividend again? So that is also affecting you saw the value of those stocks. Some of those stocks have lost over 12% within 2 days, 10%. Some of them done 8% losses. So it's not good for any shareholder, because it's just like you just sit down and watch your wealth go down, and again restricted. So it caused a lot of panic, and that's why you saw that a lot of them were trying to exit the market and just say, look, let me exit at whatever price it is. It's better for me than seeing my value eroded daily.
Go down. So does this also, or rather, how would this affect the the everyday user of banks, either saves or just, they don't
have a problem. They don't have a problem. You didn't see any panicking of anybody going to the bank. They don't have a problem. The CBN is more interested in customers. I mean, you can see that, with tens of customers, we have a lot of the CBN, if they give an example, if a bank is going under, the CBN does not think about the shareholder. They only think about preserving the wealth of the customer. So I don't think the customers have anything to fear, because, again, like I said, that circular is out. But we really do know that sometimes these banks are not as bad as the CBN were painting it. But again, they are regulators. Sometimes they know what we don't know.
No.
So maybe that's why they did what they had to do.
Probably a greater picture as well.
Yeah.
And do you think this will influence lending behavior, interest rates, or access to credit
lending
facilities?
behavior? Yes. Because again, if you look at that cycle, I say they were exposed to some loans that you understand. So what it means is that they would rather not be doing so much of the lending again, which the CBN have always said they wanted. they won't be doing so much of the lending again, especially to the real sector.
Yeah.
Because again, when you look at that real sector now, look at the passive income. The passive income is not there. So who will be patronizing the manufacturer? Who will be patronizing the retail?
Exactly.
The retailers who will be patronizing models. So I don't have that fund again. The economy is not smiling at me, or my take home is not enough.
No.
So what I use to govern this is this passive income, and then you are now stopping it from coming. So it makes things more difficult. I think definitely, and then banks will just look at it. Look, instead of me lending and the CBN is hitting me because these people are going through challenge due to COVID, we've had a payment arrangement. Some of these loans are being offset gradually. We are trying to make sure that it doesn't affect them and make sure that their business also strive. And you are now saying no, because of that, you're making it a little bit making it difficult for me. So rather, I take that money and give it to CBN as I normally would have done. Just give me interest on bonds, and treasury and other Euro bonds, and then I just sit down and do the normal conventional banking. I mean, non-conventional banking, just get interest and declare those bogus profits. But the real sector is suffering. So I think it will do. And then if I have to borrow, if I have to lend, I will lend at a very high interest rate, because that means there's more risk because of what the CBN is saying.
Yeah, and but do you think this could actually be a good move in the long run? To make the banks more resilient, really.
I think so. Because what it meant is that, number one, we will not see that what people have always complained in terms of insider dealings within the bank, between the directors, between the management staff, will come down, because they know, CBN is watching us, and when they do come out, people will know who are these banks that are being affected, and that will erode our value, that will erode our shares, that will erode even the confidence that the people will have in us. Yeah. So definitely that also will play a big role. Like I said, yes, it will definitely help in the long run, yeah. Because again, by this, most of them, I'm sure most of them, you'll be shocked to hear. I expect a lot of press statement before the end of the week, and what you begin to hear is how most of them are going to offset it, because they have the required liquidity to offset it. Yeah. And so then that will bring confidence back to the market, that will bring confidence back to the banking space. That will also make the regulator, even if they have they have golf in one way, to say, look, we knew what we're doing, we just wanted our banks to be very stable. And
So going back to the everyday investor, what would you say? I don't want to use the word advice. What do you think they should do? Buy, sell, or
look? If I mean, it depends on your state, and it depends on what you really want to do. Because again, if we have sets of people in the market, we have speculators, we have traders, we have investors. So that's, I say, depending on where you are. Oh, if you're a speculator, you said, wow, I speculated wrongly. If I keep staying there, I may get my fingers more burnt. So I got out. If you're an investor, you say, this is a good time for me to acquire more, because that will increase my portfolio going forward in the near future. If you're a trader, you begin to say, at what price did I buy this stock? How long will it take me to recover, if I have to recover? Then by that, you now make up your decisions.
Okay. Yeah, I like the way you actually broke it down with different, situations. But is this a good time to start looking into fixed income? Fixed income products.
Yeah, of course. I mean, most of the people that will be exiting, these few days will be looking for a safe havens in the fixed income space, and say, look, I think this is fixed. I know what I will get. So
Treasury bills,
bonds, commercial papers.
Yeah.
So look, these are fixed. I know what I will get here. So I'd rather go there than sitting here and suffering myself and having high BP. like he said, like I just said, instead of having high BP, I'd rather just get my BP low and enjoy myself.
Oh my goodness. And just to clarify, so how should investors think about dividend incomes versus capital appreciation during times like this?
You see, the thing is, in developed economies, that's why you see they like coming to Nigeria. In developed economy, it's very difficult for you to get the kind of dividend payout that we get here in Nigeria. Because in Nigeria, most investors look at cash is king. But in developed economy, you realize that most of them believe in terms of capital appreciation.
Yeah.
So when it goes up, then you have to sell. Then if you need cash, you sell. But you have made so much money, whatever the corporation is, they get more money to expand their business, create more profit that will help create capital appreciation in your stock. That's what they do. But in terms of Nigeria, we always believe in this cash thing that is king. So now, like you said, some people invest for passive income in the long term. Some people, there are some particular stock that you realize that, look, this is a dividend paying stock, no matter what happens. So investors goes there. Now, some investors also invest for capital appreciation, depending on your strategy. Like I said, depending on that space, you are a trader, speculator. So you now begin to look at capital appreciation. But again, it's sometimes what we have seen in the market. We have, you can't just have one person say, I'm an investor. Sometimes you have a combination. Somebody's an investor, somebody's a speculator, somebody's a trader, depending on the equity that is buying. Some of them, if they are buying the insurance stocks, they say, you know what, this stock is very volatile. I make this amount and I'm out of it. So that is an investor. And then he said, okay, from this amount that I've made from this insurance, so I would rather go to buy and investing a stock that will pay me good dividend in the near future, that have good fundamentals. So it's just depends on what. But capital appreciation in the long run add value to your portfolio, and also may be able to give you more fund to expand into areas if you trade off. But dividend payment comes in handy in terms of meeting basic needs, and also sometimes most of this dividend payment goes back into the market for reinvestment. And sometimes, like I said, the strategies, some of them take this dividend payment and go into the fixed income space.
Okay, thank you for breaking it down that way. And with all this, do you think this dividend freeze will last to the end of the year, or when after the recapitalizations are met, really?
I think with what I'm seeing, with the body language changing, with some of this, one of the bank came up yesterday and said, look, with what I did, in terms of what I got from my banking space and what I got from my holding companies. I got more. So through my holding company, I'll still be able to pay you dividend. And in exception for one or two of those frugal banks, you realize that most of them are having a holding structure whereby if the bank cannot pay, our holding structure can be able to pay. Now the challenge is how much can they pay? That's another challenge. So will we be able to keep pace with some of the dividend payment the history that we are known with? I think that will be the challenge. But to say if they will not pay, because like I said, it's an ongoing, like CBN has come up with the circular now. So we don't know what the half-year result may be. The half-year result might be, look, we have cleared up all this forbearance, we have enough liquidity, we are going into our retail, and we are paying dividends. It could be like that. It could plan out like that. So I think it's still early days to say whether it will last till the end of the year or we'll start getting dividends. I've seen a lot of reports saying, oh, you won't get dividend this year. Only one bank or two banks will be able to pay you interim dividend. Oh, by the end of the year, you might get dividend, but you might not get the one. Some of them said, okay, before you begin to enjoy those full dividend payment, you might get to 2028 or that. But you also need to know that one thing that drives the financial market, one thing that drives the stock market is that you cannot forecast the future. Nobody saw this coming, and it comes in. There's always that black swan event that will come that will distort the system. So you can't forecast it. You are just based on what you have on ground, but the stock market it's not. It doesn't give you the true picture of what the future is. It only give you a glimpse of what is it, and that could also change, like what happened for 48 hours ago. So you cannot really be able to find out. And then, like I said, when you look at this banks and you look at the kind of liquidity they have in terms of their retail earnings,
it's not really as bad.
It's not as bad as you think, and I think the CBN is realizing that and coming out. If you know, I think they are coming out too late.
They bite their bullets at the end of the day. And so, as in to round up, with this example, as in a time of policy, uncertainties, right? What financial habits would you say is the most important to hold on to at this time?
Value investment. So key.
Yeah, you heard it from the horse's mouth, everybody. Thank you so much, Mr. Muktar, for breaking it down. So you all heard it. It's probably not as bad as it seems, and for all we know, the dividend freeze might be lifted anytime soon. If you have any comments, you have anything to say, drop your comments in the comment section, and we'll see you all next week on EMM. Take care. Bye.